Since I had the camera out, I thought I'd show some of my art because I'm also a artist. It's hard to describe, visual artist, I guess you could say. So I'm a poet, songwriter, I write stories for kids, but I also do art. So I grabbed 3 pieces of my art. This one's out of my kitchen, and this is called Their Last Supper Together. And it's a normal like Last Supper thing. It was all gold, but I painted it, and it's 3-dimensional. I don't know if he's saying, you know, the addition of apple would have made the gazpacho sweeter and, you know, more distinctive. You know, I always say frisee is tastier and less bitter when picked pale, you know, yellow rather than dark green like this. I don't believe my salad plate was chilled. These larger chunks of zucchini did turn buttery with the roasting, but I think if it were sliced thinner, it would have achieved an intriguing crispness. And then there's Jesus. And someone's like holding his finger up to him with a little drop of custard, and he's saying, the custards would not have been overcooked had you used a water bath. And this guy's saying, this would have been delectable garnished with a simple like creme fraiche. Does it seem like he used extra virgin in place of the beurre norsal and the truffle oil? You know, the cream cheese gains an especially lovely texture, but I don't think spinach melts the same way a nice sorrel would have. And of course, spinach makes for an earthier flavor, but what can you expect? Sorrel this time of year and truffles in this part of the world? Now that would be a miracle. So that's from my kitchen. I did that. That's called Their Last Supper. What happened is when I was traveling around the world, you know, you learn all this stuff about yourself and culture and humans and your life and the world and your fear and everything. And a big thing you learn is about pastries. So when I was in other countries, like, you know, China, where I couldn't communicate at all, and you start to learn the pastry culture. Every culture has a pastry culture. And if you hit the bakeries, you start to learn, even in different parts of the country, what the culture of bakery baked goods is. So you start to go, okay, I don't know what's in that one, but I know I remember this curly half pink one from that place 20 miles ago, and I know that's sweet, and it's filled with something trustworthy for me. And you start to like learn the pastry culture, and they recreate the same shapes and stuff that are stuffed with things. So when I got home, I realized we have the same thing. I was standing in Safeway, which is a grocery store we have on the West Coast, and I realized we totally, absolutely have a pastry culture. And I saw our standardized regulation donut code. So if you will notice, in the United States of America, we all agree that these are acceptable donut designs. You got your basic boardroom glazed donut, basic glazed. You got your maple, you got your chocolate, you got a cruller, right? Those are kind of French, like we're willing to take them. They're kind of eggy, curly. You can glaze your cruller, acceptable glaze colors, brown, right? Chocolate, pink. You don't ever see blue or anything. You shouldn't. Oh God. Then you got your old-fashioned regulation, old-fashioned. You got your sprinkles, certain shapes of sprinkles. Then you got your half sprinkles, you know, those kind. Full sprinkles, you got your jelly, lemon, raspberry, of course. And then you got your filled. And, you know, there's a special form, of course, for holiday code because it changes around then. And this is donut legislation and regulatory code. It's got the federally recognized definitions of custard. And it's all on there. And this is required by law to be posted in all bakeries in the United States that sell donuts or donut-related any establishment marketing donuts or donut products in accordance with, and then there's a really long code. So that's the standardized regulation donut code, and then I, of course, had to make the most common violations. Oh, the phone is a violation of my serenity. Okay, ignore that. So these are the common violations of the donut code. The following are specified examples of the most frequently reported breaches of federal standard regulation donut code. This is really disturbing, and I'm sorry to have to show it to you, but this is what happens. Unfortunately, you have a raised donut with powdered sugar. What the fuck is that? You don't put powdered sugar on a raised donut. That's the yeasty, puffy, you put on a cake. No, Pink, who came up with pink? Pink, I don't think pink's okay on a puffy. You got your crumb, you got all kinds of stuff. This is a major infraction. A misaligned hole, ooh, yeah, don't do that. We would never accept that. Now, if you're doubting whether this is a real, legitimate federal document that you don't know if you can trust, ask yourself this. If you were on a road trip with your buddies and like you rolled into like a different state, like let's say you went to Idaho and you're not from Idaho, and you rolled into a donut shop, okay, and your buddy, you've never seen it in your life, ever, this donut shop. Your friend will say, what do you want? And you'll say, I want a twist, or I want a maple donut, right? You can describe it without even going in, and you've never met this donut maker. Now, that's proof that we know the code. We all do. But if your friend goes, okay, cool, I got it, and they walk in, and in this donut shop, they find pink frosted, 75% covered with nuts. And the other choices are an old-fashioned donut with no frosting and sprinkles that are outdated. Ooh, so this is the Halloween orange and black sprinkles post October 31st. And your friend finds crullers with star-shaped sprinkles. And maybe let's just throw it in. Let's throw in one more. Okay, jelly donuts with multiple holes. Okay, like 4 holes. Your friend would come out and say something to you. They would buy something maybe, but they'd be like, dude, that donut shop is totally fucked up. You won't believe you gotta see this. So that's proof. These are common problems. And the other thing that's so funny is like, okay, proof that you know this cultural fact. If you roll in to a staff meeting at work and there's boardroom basic glazed, and there's a whole pile of them, but there's one, oh, what could it be? Let's say there's one like pink, here we go, cake frosted pink with red Valentine sprinkles after Valentine's Day. Everyone in the meeting, as sophisticated and corporate as they are, everyone would be aware of that one weird donut. It's in our mind. You couldn't help but watch that donut. And everyone in the room would be aware when somebody, oh, they took the weird one. So now that I've proven to you that this is a true thing, that you know this in your brain, you could pick this chart apart if I threw them on a table. You could tell me which were acceptable and which were not acceptable, and we'd all get it right. That's my psychology background. But the fun thing to know is on the violations, just like normal criminal law, they carry different levels of penalty by how deviant they are from what's acceptable. For example, misaligned donut hole. Ooh, right? In American culture, you're not even sure if you want to eat that. Like maybe it's going to make you sick, right? Ooh, right? But important critical distinction is a basic raised donut missing a hole. I forgot to put a hole in the donut at all, versus which is just like a lump of dough, right? Which is technically the same thing as this violation, a filled type missing filling. Can you imagine if your friend rolled in and got your quote jelly donut and you came out with this thing and there's no filling? Yeah, it's a problem. So those look like the same lump of dough. However, what do you think is a worse, terrible, atrocious crime against humanity? Someone forgetting to put a hole at all, or someone forgetting to fill it with jelly? That's up to you. I would say it's probably like no hole in the donut. That's a little freakier. Plus, just to hit the point home, if you received either of these donuts, you would tell someone, not just the person with you, later that day, you'd say, we got donuts? And like, mine didn't have a hole. So that's the standardized regulation donut code for the United States of America. I'm just really glad that someone finally took it upon themselves to make a legal document.